you're probably wondering what I'm doing. I'm trying to find a microphone so that I don't have to wear my headset, but I couldn't find one. You gonna say hi? Pause. Say hi, so speak. Let me move my cup out. He's so cool. Speak. 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 Yes, good boy. Good boy. Thank you. All right, place. Welcome back to the channel. Fozzie says hi. Today I'm going to talk about like what exactly went down. And like I said before, this is just like, I want to say cautionary tale, but maybe that's the best way to describe it. This was a learning situation. This is something that other people can learn from. Oh, my lips. Let me get, let me fix this real quick. All right. Can't be out here cracking ashy. This is something that everybody can learn from, especially people in their first tech career, or I mean, honestly, when applying for any job, this is something that everybody can glean from. Definitely something that I will glean from for my next role, you know, if there is a next role. So, you know, before we get started, I don't know if I said this in my last video. By the way, check out my last video. It's kind of an introduction to my channel. I'm not the type of person who doesn't accept responsibility when they've done something wrong. So this isn't the type of video where I feel like burned or I'm trying to like down talk my former employer. It's not even about that. I think that there are things that could have been done differently on both ends, so that if you're ever in this situation, you can learn from the mistakes that I made so that you can, you know, maybe do things differently. Like I said before, advocate for yourself and prepare yourself for whatever might come in the future. So basically, I started at IBM in 2019 as an apprentice. Before that, I went to a boot camp for front-end development, JavaScript, obviously. But I started as an apprentice, and I was placed on a team of back-end Java developers, and they worked on the back end of certain components of one of the company's products. And as soon as I got on the team, there were two things that I noticed immediately. And the first was that I would have a mentor, and you know, that's great. Knowing that I would have somebody by my side, I thought that was awesome. This person was supposed to help me get integrated onto the team, be a support system while I went through the apprenticeship learning. So when you become an apprentice, as far as I know, I think this is still how it goes. You are learning about the team and what the team does, the technology that the team uses. You know, you're apprenticing on that. So somebody's supposed to be teaching you that. But you're also doing apprenticeship learning, which is educational materials, and you have about a year to finish it before you decide what you're going to do. You and your manager, you know, come up with a plan as far as your career. So I had to get the learning done in a year. Like I said, my mentor was new to the team. So that was a little concerning for me, but I wasn't experienced enough to know that maybe that wasn't the best fit for me. And I was also told, literally, I was told that he was voluntold to mentor me because no one else wanted the task. So that was the initial thing that made me feel a little uncomfortable, because I didn't want to impose, I guess is the best way to say it, but I just went with it. You know, I didn't know what else to say, but it was a little concerning. The next thing I noticed after being introduced to the team and seeing where I would actually be working is that there was nobody on the team that looked like me. And for a person of color, I know that is, you know, I guess that's fairly common in the tech space. I think that things around that are changing, but for me, that was, you know, I felt uncomfortable. Not only that, but in my entire neighborhood, I don't remember anyone looking like me. It's mostly a white male dominated space. And when I say neighborhood, I mean, if you think of like a grid, like a piece of paper, a grid, each of one of those squares would be a neighborhood. And within that neighborhood, there are they're not cubicles. They're kind of like desks. My mom calls them crubbies, like a cruddy cubby, but it's like there are these electric desks that you can stand up at. There's small partitions on each side that don't completely block your view from your neighbor, but I guess offer a sense of privacy, even though there is no privacy. You can just Google it. Google what the neighborhoods look like at IBM, and you can get a pretty clear picture of the renovations that have been done. So while, some of you may not think that that's a big deal, and, if you don't, then that's amazing. But for people that look like me, a lot of people that look like me, I'm not going to speak for everyone, this can be a red flag based on past experiences. Not always, but enough times, we've had these experiences that it's noticeable. It's you proceed with caution. I guess I'll say that. So I will say that my mentor was extremely supportive, as he could have been. So I'm not talking bad about him. And my manager was as supportive as he could have been. I had flexible hours because he knew that I was a single mom at that time. And not only that, but I had a 3-hour commute each way. So I was commuting 6 hours a day to be at work. I got to work maybe around 9:30, 10-ish. It wasn't really set in stone, but that we said around that time. And then I would leave before rush hour. So I would leave around 4, and I would get home really with enough time to just like maybe prepare my kids dinner. My mom was living with me at the time, so she was a little helpful, and to see the kids off to bed. That was pretty much my day. So let's fast forward a little bit. My apprenticeship is coming to an end, and at this point some time was spent on team stuff, but mostly I was working hard to finish the apprenticeship materials. That was my focus. I was letting the mentor do the mentoring, and I was focused on getting these apprenticeship materials done, because at the end of the day, if I haven't finished that, then there's no going forward with the job. So it was my mentor's job to teach me Java, I was familiar with GitHub and all that stuff, but really to teach me, the components, the organization, what the components that we work on do, all those things. And none of that really happened. I did a couple of pushes to GitHub under his instruction, and it was really him saying, type this, and then we'll push it and it'll go under review. And this is, the review process. Those were things I was already familiar with from my boot camp. But I never really got a sense of what exactly he worked on, what that thing did as far, in the grand scheme of this product. What did this thing do? So I never got that. And this is one thing I will say about my mentor. Like I said, he was new. He may have been fresh out of college, or he had some, a little bit of previous experience, but he was a new dad. His girlfriend had just had a baby, or not had a baby, but he had I think the kid was like 1. He was under an immense amount of pressure. I could see it physically on him that he was under a lot of pressure. He was very young. I remember being a young parent, so I think that he did the best that he could do. I don't think it was anything malicious or anything like that. I think that he was, very close to, if not fighting for his life, trying to stay afloat mentally and be present for his job, for himself, his family, and me at the same time. So yeah, that's that. But what the things that I needed to happen to get me in right standing on the team did not happen. And like I said, I spent most of my time on the apprenticeship materials. Then COVID hit, and I got COVID, very early on. It was before it was even called COVID. We really didn't know what it was. And so all we knew and all I saw was that people were getting sick left and right. And I was one of those first people. I was out a few weeks, and when I got back, there was a little bit of time to spare for me to finish up and then have a career conversation with my manager. Now, I'm reading my notes, and before I said that I was not going to go into much detail as to why I made the decision that I made, but now I'm free to talk about it. I'm officially unemployed. I'm not kind of in limbo where I'm on the team but not working. Got my last paycheck and all that stuff. So during the time for me to have my career conversation with my manager, I had some experiences on the team that made me want to go elsewhere. And basically it was, like I said, that thing that I noticed when I first joined the team. You proceed with caution, and for the most part, my feelings were pretty accurate. It was like in this large room, my desk was here. It's a group of 4 desks, and there was one teammate who was sitting across from me, but that person wasn't even my mentor. I wasn't even sitting next to my mentor. My mentor was like 2 rows down, like all the way down there by the window with the rest of the team. So I wasn't even sitting with my team. There would be times when people would go to lunch or go to the break room and literally just walk right past me like I wasn't even there, and literally ask the person across from me, like I was just an afterthought. And there were a couple of times when I was asked, and so it's like I wasn't intentionally included, but the times when I was included, it was extremely uncomfortable. Like, I'm just sitting there watching these guys talk. I'm the only girl in my family. I'm surrounded by mostly males. I feel more comfortable around males. But in this situation, these are people that have been there for 25, maybe even 30 years. Seniors. They were seniors. And there was, I feel like if given the opportunity, if I am made welcome, I can get along with just about anybody. I am a Christian, but I can get along with anybody, any race, color, creed, religion. I can find something. We can talk about something. If you got kids, I got kids. Okay, that's a shared experience that we have. If you're a woman, I'm a woman. If you've been married, divorced, like we can find something to talk about. I'm that type of person where I can find something to talk about with anybody. People talk to me, open up to me frequently. I've never had a problem. But this situation was very noticeable. So I told my manager I want to be on the team. I was extended the offer to be on the team. I told him I wanted to be on a team with people that look like me, where I would feel more welcome. And I hinted at my experiences, but I didn't go into much detail because even for my manager, it was like this weird sense of, I don't know. It's like, have you ever had an experience where, okay, I'm gonna say this. So I moved into this neighborhood and it's mostly old white people on this side of town. And one of my neighbors 2 doors down, her son was playing with my son for a while, and she came over one day, and I guess she was trying to like chat it up or whatever, and the best thing that could come to her mind was, you look like Lauryn Hill. And I was like, okay. And then she went on to talk about how she loved locks. I had just started my locks then, and she loved Bob Marley and reggae music, and it was I had that type of experience with my manager. So I didn't even want to get into it. I said, I want to be someplace where I feel more welcome, and just left it at that. So he said, okay. And so we left it at that. And so while he was working on that, my year is up at the apprenticeship. I'm still on this team, but not really working with the team because my manager's trying to place me someplace else. COVID is really starting to go strong. It's really starting to ramp up, and the company is fully remote. My manager's working behind the scenes to get me on another team, and that team, as I came to find out, was not directly in development, but was the next tier down and supported the product from more of a like tech support perspective, and contacted development if there was like an actual bug or something that development could help with. So this is a product, this is another team, different set of components. It's not even the support team that is under the development team that I was on. It wasn't even that team. This product, I didn't learn anything about as an apprentice. So as soon as I got the offer and salary details, my manager told me he found me a spot. I got those details. I went looking for a house to buy to be closer to work, which is the place I'm in now. So on this new team, I got a mentor, and I think this person was maybe the senior person on the team. And I'm not necessarily talking about in age, even though that could have been true, but in time on the job. I mean, like he was pushing like maybe 30 years on the job. And he was there so long, in fact, that he was actually going to retire the next year. I didn't know it at the time, but that's how long he was there. He was on his way out, throwing up the peace sign, preparing, getting his ducks in a row to roll out. He was a nice guy. The funny story, I was in a video chat with him, and he started talking, and like my kids came in the room because he sounds exactly like Latte Hugging Bear from Toy Story, and I thought that was so funny. He sounds exactly like him, and I thought that was pretty cool, and it took me a long time to like stop giggling low-key every time he talked, but I thought that was really funny. He was a nice guy. I think that maybe he was not necessarily interested in training me, or what is more likely the case is that he was just not a teacher, and that's okay because not everybody is a teacher. Teaching is a gift, it's a ministry, and it's not cut out for everybody. But the onus of that was on my manager to pick the best person on the team to train me, and that didn't happen. So I did learn the basics. I learned to uninstall the product, migrate the product. This was the main product. There were 2 products, so it was just a lot of focus on the main product. There was no log reading, no touching on that secondary product. And I'll note that this is not me trying to, once again, not trying to nitpick, but I was given at least 100 hours of training materials in a Dropbox, and for some of those materials I couldn't open them on my Mac. Some of the materials were just outdated or inaccessible, and for the rest it was a lot of videos. It wasn't even really tutorials. It was just like it may have been meetings of developers showing updates to the product that they made, and it's like it wasn't basic or foundational really at all. So I'm just sitting there like, what are these people talking? I don't know what they're talking about. Like, I have no point of reference. There's no connecting knowledge for me to really understand what they're talking about. And that was for the videos that I could understand. And this is what I'm leading into. For a lot of presenters, their accents were so thick, I couldn't understand what they were saying. And this is something that I debated about whether or not I was going to talk about. But I definitely believe in inclusivity, meaning like these people shouldn't be precluded from being in positions of leadership and education. But you have to ask yourself the question as an organization and as a manager. Is it more important that this person does this presentation, or is it more important that the people who need to receive this information and learn from it can receive and learn from it? So in my situation, and this is me, this is somebody, I am a child of an immigrant, I have gone in, I've grown up, I'm from DC, I've grown up with people from all over the world, people who didn't speak English. I mean, so this is not like, I'm not somebody from the West, and I'm not, if that's you, but you may not come in contact with a lot of people like that. It may be a little bit more, I was shocked at the accessibility of these materials, and I was given quite a bit of time to go over them, but it was just quite a bit of time of frustration, to be honest with you. It was just I just couldn't understand it at all, most of it. And so I spent a lot of time trying to do my own research, trying to do my own learning, do my own education. And this is the point where I really started to ask myself what I had gotten myself into. Now, what did I do wrong in this situation? When my manager asked me if everything was okay, I said yes. I did not feel comfortable. I didn't know how to breach that subject. I didn't know how to say, hey, I can't understand what these people are saying in this video. I'm an overthinker, I think. So in me thinking about how to breach this to my manager, I'm thinking, okay, so but what are they going to do about it? Because if they wanted to train me live, someone would be training me live. So they just gave me a Dropbox. So they're feeling like this should be sufficient, but it's not, and also I don't know the team dynamics. I don't know the atmosphere. I don't know how approachable my manager really is. I don't want to look like the Black woman who is somehow already failing and not intelligent and is complaining, or I didn't want to fall into these tropes or these stereotypes that people might have about me. So I've thought for a long time about what I could have done differently, how I could have done it differently. But hindsight is 20/20, so that's a sticky situation. But I will say, I'm gonna save it for another video. I'm gonna give some tips and some thoughts in hindsight, another video. My mentor and I didn't meet frequently. Like I said, there was installing, uninstalling, the very, very, very basics. But that was a drop in the bucket of the knowledge that I needed to have to perform this job properly. There was some light shadowing with him on the overall process of things, but I was supposed to shadow everyone on the team. That didn't happen. At some point, we stopped meeting officially. It was never really agreed upon. It just kind of sort of happened. And I would just hit him on Slack with questions, and there were a lot of questions because there's a lot that I didn't know. I was not shown where I can search for answers. There's multiple resources for that. Wasn't really taught how to use Salesforce properly, how to check on my stats. Like, there was a lot that I just didn't know that I had to learn on my own, like needle in a haystack type searching, or, it was just a lot. So over the next 6 months to a year, I'm eased into harder cases. COVID is still going on. I'm really kind of an afterthought. I have a lot of free time on my hands for a long time. And that's a big thing that I'm going to talk about when I'm talking about tips and tricks in my next video. I felt isolated, and it wasn't because I was remote. it was really because I was in over my head and I had no support. But like a lot of life experiences, my background, my history, you know, my scope, when things are tough, you just suck it up and you keep going. You try to push. You try to push through it. You don't complain about it. You just try to suck it up and figure it out. And that's what I tried to do. I did reach out to teammates to get some recommendations on extra training, because at some point I was like, okay, the expectations they just didn't sit right with me, is what I'm trying to say. Like sometimes you can feel in over your head and it's imposter syndrome. And when you really like calm down, you'll realize that you know what you're doing. And there's other times where you just don't know what you're doing. And that's what I was going through. I got recommendations, or it was more like I would have conversations like, hey, what did you go to school for? Or what is some knowledge that you think would be useful in this role? Like I was trying to unearth, you know, some assistance or some recommendations on what I could do on my own behind the scenes in my free time to improve myself for this role, instead of waiting for somebody to improve me or to, you know, help me the way I felt like I needed to be helped. That's usually how I go about things. In hindsight, I could have done things differently. I got some recommendations. When I asked for help, it was a mixed bag. Some of my teammates were not really approachable, friendly. You know, it was like, for a long time, for at least a year, I was just given the answer. It wasn't like, okay, let me walk you through this. Let me show you how this is done, or let me show you what I look for in the logs. And I was very specific about, you know, needing help reading logs. But it was easier for people to just give me the answer, to go into the case, look over it, and give me the answer versus teaching me how to fish for myself. And so that really hindered my progress as well. And other times, you know, if I had a question, the recommendation was very vague. It was kind of like, you should just get a test environment and mess around with it yourself and try to figure it out. Okay, well, I know what the test environment is, but like, where do I go to like it's like, how do I test it? Because all I know is how to install, uninstall. I have not. I may have started and stopped the product. Never installed an application on it. Never dealt with issues where I can't start it, issues where I can't stop it. These are basic type of things that I just didn't get. So there were times when I would say, hey, can we do a video chat and we can look through these logs and you can show me, like, you can go through the logs with me and show me what you're looking for. That almost never happened. Maybe 1 or 2 times, maybe 3 times. You know, there was an unavailability that really was really discouraging. And this went on for a long time. And at some point, even my manager admitted that it was probably a bad idea to have assigned that person to mentor me. So then he assigned me to the main team lead to mentor me. This guy is really smart. I would say he's the best person on the team. Very knowledgeable, extremely knowledgeable. It's like he's a whiz. There's nothing he couldn't do. But that didn't work out very well. So yeah, I'll get into that. I will say that still the meetings were not consistent. The training was not consistent. So, you know, at some point the time came for me to meet metrics, which means that there were expectations for me to close a certain number of cases or resolve them successfully and log a certain number of case time for the month for all these cases total. And to take on, you know, Sev 1 cases, which are like urgent, super urgent. It could be like, let's say, huge company, worldwide company, well-known car company, you know, their website's not working. That's urgent, you know. So that type of stuff. And to work an occasional weekend shift for these Sev 1 cases. And I was terrified. It was like, I was like a deer in headlights. I wasn't ready, but I didn't have a choice. So in all, I was on the job about 3 years maybe. And this scenario, it's very similar to when I was a kid and I was in band. So eventually we moved to North Carolina when I was a kid and I wanted to join band. I was in band at my previous school. And the school we went to, the band was like really good. And at my previous school, all we had done is played like scales and, you know, we weren't competing. We weren't playing at football games or anything like that. Like the comparison was night and day, but I wanted to join band. I didn't even know how to read notes, you know, because we were just playing scales. There wasn't any note reading or anything like that. So I joined band and I didn't tell anybody about my lack of skills. I didn't know what to expect when I joined band. I was in the brass section, I played trumpet, and I was new. I just wanted to like be down. I just wanted to have friends. I just wanted to be down. So I didn't want to get made fun of. I just faked it till I made it. Really, I played by ear. I learned how to play by ear. I basically memorized every song, memorized every person's part, and I got the third chair. Third chair in band and 3 years at IBM. That's funny. I basically memorized what the better kids did, and that's what I did. The first 2 chairs, I remember their names were Nicole and Josh, and they were amazing. So I was just happy to just be sitting next to them, and I just kept my mouth shut. You know, I would watch them, watch the fingering, and just do what they did. Listen to my instrument and just try to stay on tune. But the reason I say this is because, you know, that sounds great, but that's extremely stressful. And that's exactly what I went through in this role. It's extremely stressful to fake it till you make it, to play by ear, as opposed to learning the foundation of the product or whatever it is that you're supposed to learn. It was stressful, especially when time came for us to be tested to see if we were going to move up a chair or down a chair. I would spend like the whole week just practicing just to keep my spot, when it could have come much easier if I had the foundational principles down. But that's what it's akin to. I mean, obviously there was a lot more on the line for me. I have responsibilities. The buck stops with me financially. And so I'm just trying to keep my head above water. Very synonymous to what I said about my first mentor. I'm trying to keep from drowning. And I have all this pressure on me. There were so many days of frustrations and tears. I didn't know what I was doing, and I felt unsupported. Imagine looking at logs that the client submits for an issue and scouring. I would scour maybe 50 cases, frantically searching for similar issues in the logs so I can like have something to grasp something. Not having been told all the resources that are available to find answers, being told to tinker with a test environment to figure it out, being told the answer only to encounter the same issue again and have to ask for help again for the same issue because you've just been given the answer and not been taught how to find the answer. It was embarrassing. And, you know, it was hard for me to keep asking for help when it was basically every case that I needed help with. There was fear of losing my job, fear of losing my house as the only support to 4 children, because I had to take on more cases to meet these metrics and I still only know the basics. And I can very clearly remember on 2 occasions where I probably had or came close to having a nervous breakdown. Like it was just an overall feeling of panic, hyperventilation, feeling like everything is crashing in on me, and just feeling extremely alone. I started to get migraines. I've never gotten migraines before. And one time I was hospitalized. Any type of light it was like my skin hurt. They thought it was meningitis, but it wasn't. That was next to having kidney stones and giving birth, that was the worst pain I've ever felt in my life. It was that. I was literally screaming and crying in pain. And there's, in the back of my mind, there's still this fear of being the only Black person on the team, because I'm on the team once again with nobody that looks like me. And there's this fear of looking weak and dumb. Also being one of the only women on the team and looking weak and dumb. And that mentor that I had, like I said, on this new team, my second mentor on this new team, we met 4 or 5 times and then it just stopped. You know, there was no warning. It was no communication. Life issues would happen and it would just stop. With my first mentor on the new team, I realized it just stopped because, like I said, he was ready to retire. He was ready to roll out. He started renovating his kitchen in preparation to retire, and the communication just stopped. And my manager knew what was going on, but nobody ever told me. I had to find out after the fact. I had to find out that he was retiring after the fact. He just was gone one day and nobody said anything to me. And so there were moments where I've taken accountability in this video, but I'm gonna make it very clear. There were times when I sat on cases. I was tired, embarrassed, scared to ask for help. Some of my teammates were unapproachable in their attitude and in their conversation. For most of my time on that team, I didn't take on as many cases as I needed to meet metrics, because it was literally, I felt like a deer. I felt like I was walking out in the traffic like a deer caught in headlights. Like, it was extremely counterintuitive. It went against everything inside me. If I have a hard time handling 5 cases and I need assistance on all of those, why am I going to take on 20 cases? Like that, so obviously there were times when I felt overwhelmed. My responses to the clients could have been better, but I was giving them everything that I had based on my level of knowledge. It wasn't every time. I mean, there were times when I gave the wrong answer. Yeah, that happens. There were times when I was wrong. And like I said before, I told my manager, for the most part, we did have candid conversations that things were okay when they weren't. For an example, I felt like I wasn't meeting enough with my mentor. I'm not trying to, tell on this person that this person is upset with me and it's the team lead. Like, my storage got full, but I don't want to keep beating a dead horse, but you pretty much get what I'm saying. So then at some point, I started to question, like, okay, maybe there's some sort of mix up. I'm questioning how much my former manager told my new manager about my skill level. Maybe I'm getting these types of responses from my teammates and my team leads because they assume I know more than I know and they don't feel an urgent need to train me. So I pulled all of them together, and by this time my original mentor on my new team, he was already retired, and I just laid it all out. I was as blunt as I could be. And to be honest, not much was done about that either. What I was looking for was them to guide me to specific education or to take the time to mentor me properly. I mean, like, I don't know what I don't know. There's some things that I knew that I needed, but for the most part, I don't know what I don't know. This software was very broad. It goes very deep. Even though my team handled specific components on the support side, the things that we handled it was pretty broad. It went pretty deep. So I obviously don't know everything that I need to know, or else I would have tried to learn it. And there were rumors about changing things up. I don't know if it was me specifically, but another new person came to our team from a different team, and that he was not involved in support of this product at all. He was working on a different product. Maybe that has something to do with it. I don't know. But there was a rumor that, we would all be split into groups. Each group would have, a few senior members and then some newer people on the team, and we would work on specific issues like one by one so that we could focus on one thing and then move on to another topic to like get a deeper understanding, because you could work on, you could have a case for an issue and not see that issue for a long time, and you may forget how to handle that. You can only do so much with your notes. So long story short, that never happened. So fast forward to maybe 5 or 6 months ago. Like I said, the team lead that was supposed to mentor me, that fizzled out for whatever reason. My manager pairs me with him again, okay? But we never meet because his wife is towards the end of her pregnancy, or she's had the baby. I don't know this. I was not informed of this. So nothing happened there. A bit later, I get told that I have to get my metrics up in 3 months, or I could be fired. I mean, he didn't say it specifically, but in so many words, that's what I was led to believe. And I was given a performance improvement plan. My manager came up with a plan. My manager and I came up with a plan that I would agree to work, my butt off to make it happen. I was also supposed to be getting mentoring. Let's also mention that the company has now demanded that we return to work for a minimum of 3 days per week. But the caveat is that unless if you live like 50 or more miles away, you don't have to commute. But my manager tells me that I should commute, or there's a chance that, in so many words, pretty much, I could lose my job. Right before the mandate to return to the office happens, I find out that I'm pregnant. So I'm totally exhausted. I am trying to work this performance improvement plan, with the understanding and the fear that I'm going to lose my job if I don't, and that I'll keep my job if I'm successful. So I have to drive an hour to get to work, be there for an hour or two, drive back home an hour, and still get my metrics in order. Now, like, if I have to commute, that means I have to either wake up earlier, or that should be included in my day. Because it's not like we're officially returning. It's just 3 days a week, which I didn't, I'm not even gonna get into that. I basically worked my butt off. I worked on weekends. I picked up extra cases after my shift, because normally cases are assigned to us. Teammates got mad at me for doing that, even though they were well above and beyond the metric standard. They got upset with me about that. And, some people told on me. I worked during my son's class when I took him to class. I worked at night, but I did it. The first month I did it. It was extremely difficult. Also, during that time, I told my manager I couldn't drive 3 days a week because I had 2 close calls of running off the road. I fell asleep on the road due to exhaustion. And towards the middle or so of the second month, it was basically around the middle, my manager and I met for our usual progress meeting. Up until this time, I had not had any warnings about my performance. I had not had any warnings. I got, after people started complaining about me picking up cases, I got clarification from my manager about whether or not that was okay. He said it was okay. There was nothing leading me to believe that, other than me not completing this performance improvement plan, that I would lose my job. There was no meetings, warnings, write-ups about how I handle cases, ever. The only time there was an issue was I was picking up cases that came in on the weekend, and they were not Sev 1 cases. We gotta leave those alone until Monday. I didn't know that. Once I realized that, it was like, okay, I won't do it anymore. So during this meeting, my manager basically told me, basically I was confronted with a very long list of every little thing that I had done wrong over an extended period of time. I wasn't given exact dates. I was not even privy. I don't even think I saw the log. I can't remember. Maybe I did. I don't know. But it was very nitpicky. And I'm not saying that mistakes shouldn't be addressed, but this was very extreme. Later on, someone that I was talking to said, this sounds like file padding. And that's exactly what it felt like. It felt like it was a lot. Every single thing that I had done wrong, responses that they didn't agree with that I gave to the clients, times when I made mistakes and gave clients the wrong answer. And basically from that, my manager basically said, I don't feel safe with you having contact with the clients anymore. And so it was like, do you want us to, I don't feel safe with you. All roads led to me, you're not gonna work here anymore. But it wasn't like direct. So it was like, I'm gonna give you 5 weeks to think about it. And during that time, you think we should maybe take away your cases and give them to the team? Like, what do you say to that? Like, how do you respond to that? You're giving me 5 weeks off. So I was basically like, I'm not, I'm sorry. I need a little bit of clarification, because I don't understand what I'm supposed to be thinking about, and I really don't understand what I actually have a choice in. If you're giving me 5 weeks off, you say I don't feel safe handling cases or dealing with clients anymore, and my case is going to be taken away. What am I thinking about? Like, what? Can you explain to me what exactly my options are? And I had no options. Up until then, my manager had nothing but good things to say about the progress that I was making, because I was actually making progress. I was actually working my butt off behind the scenes after hours to improve myself, to take Udemy classes, to take YouTube classes, to take networking classes, to take security classes. Like, any little bit of information that I could get or glean to make myself better on my job, I was doing that. And it just wasn't enough. So yeah, I mean, nothing but good things to say about my progress during, quarterly kind of official progress reports that are written up. Nothing really negative to say, just saying Brandy has continued to work on her skills and yada, yada, yada. That's the goal. We're going to work on our skills in this quarter. And that's what I was doing. So, what really upsets me is that I was assigned this mentor. He never, the last time I was assigned to him, because I had him, 2 or 3 times, he never made any effort to mentor me. I reached out multiple times. Hey, let me know when you're available. Hey, we have to be in the office. What days are you going to be in the office? And I'll be there too. What times are you going to be in the office? And I'll be there too. Like, I was willing to do whatever it took to get this education. And we never met. And the only time that we did meet was literally my manager said, how's it going? And, my first inclination was to say, it's going okay. But I was like, man, I can't keep covering for this person. And so I said, things aren't going well. We haven't met. I was expecting more. My butt's on the line here. I was expecting some support. And so he said, okay, well, either you can talk to him or I'll talk to him. And I was like, bro, at some point you got to step in and just like manage and be that person who is like the conflict resolution between two people who have to work together, because you're not in the trenches doing this. You can't just like tell people what to do and try and make them get along and expect things to be okay if there's conflict or somebody's not living up to the expectation. You got to step in and handle that. But I guess he did say something behind the scenes, because I was still trying to make contact. Like, how confrontational can I be with my team lead, who was basically like a second manager?
Sitting here editing this video, and you want to know what else was upsetting? When we had that meeting, I was under the impression that I was getting fired because of that long list of issues that my manager had. But after the 5 weeks, and we had our final meeting, like my exit meeting, the reason why I was actually fired is because I didn't finish the performance improvement plan. And I just want you to think about that for a minute. How was I supposed to finish the performance improvement plan if all my cases were taken away? So this makes me think that there was some other issue. There was a deeper issue going. Maybe it could have been because I was pregnant and I was going to get 5 months of maternity leave, paid maternity leave. But I also think that there was no expectation whatsoever for me to have done well in the first month of that performance improvement plan. I mean, when I say I worked hard, I was in the top 5 finishers for that month. There was no expectation for me to even have made it. And when they saw that I made it, I believe that all this was just whipped up. Because when my manager said, let me pull up Microsoft Word, and it was just like, it seemed like it was just thrown together really quick. And, there was, for an example, I didn't spend enough time on cases, and then I spent too much time on cases. Like, it felt really, really deceptive. Now, had I known this, I probably would have fought harder, even though I knew after finishing that first month that this wasn't sustainable. Even I knew that there were teammates logging time to cases on the weekends. So people were working on the weekends. So I knew that I needed more work-life balance because the job was already stressful for me. Performing well that month was extremely stressful. I had no free time. So I knew that it wasn't sustainable, but I probably would have fought harder because them taking the cases away, or my manager taking the cases away, was the excuse that was used for me not to finish. I had no way of finishing if I didn't have any cases, and I took 5 weeks off. Now, let's think about this. I want you to think about this. Now, this just dawned on me. It's a 3-month performance improvement plan, right? The first month I did well. I was 2 weeks in and performing well when we had this meeting. So I had 5 weeks left. That's a month and 3 weeks. That's the entire duration of the performance improvement plan right there. So, like I said, this wasn't for me. It was this job was not sustainable. God gave me this job to get me out of my previous situation, help me take care of my kids and buy a house and all that. But I was never meant to be there for 3 years. And I'm thankful that I'm not under that type of stress. I really feel like God saved me from something. I could have had a miscarriage under that stress. I could have gotten in a car accident from having to commute unnecessarily. I don't know what it was, but I do know that, from the beginning of me realizing how stressful this job was, I was praying for a way out. I assumed it would be under different circumstances, that I would find another job, but God had then and has something else for me, and it happened the way it needed to happen. So I'm thankful and I'm at peace, but I don't like liars and I don't like deception, and I don't like deceit. And so at the time that was very upsetting, but now it's like this whole situation is an afterthought, and I'm putting it behind me, and just looking forward to what's coming next. Walking in my purpose, discovering my destiny, and really just drawing close to God so that I can be in right standing and in the right place for my blessing. So yeah, but that was upsetting. That was definitely upsetting at that last meeting, and I was gonna say something, but there was no point because their minds were already made up a long time ago, and God had me the whole time. So it is what it is. Back to the video.
And so nothing was discussed with me about when our next meeting was going to be. It just appeared on my calendar, and I wasn't available. I was probably at a doctor's appointment or on my way driving an hour to work or something like that. But basically what my manager was trying to do was open a WebEx, have both of us attend. Of course, we're going to show up if he, invites us. And then basically what happened is we rescheduled that meeting that didn't happen, and he had the WebEx. We entered the WebEx. He expected training to start happening. So he said, I'm just going to, shadow. And then this team lead started education. And about four or 5 minutes in, my manager said, okay, it looks like things are going well. And that was the one and only meeting we had before I actually lost my job. And that was extremely disappointing because team leads know exactly what's going on as far as the status of people on the team. Like if somebody's about to lose their job, who's under, they know all of this. So this person knew what exactly was going on. I had met with them before and told them exactly my level of education. I said, hey guys, I don't know this. I don't know how much you think I know, but I don't know anything here. So he knew exactly what was going on and didn't, after that, it was too late. It was all on me. So out of maybe a month and a half of us being paired up, we got that one meeting and I was fired. So, this channel is not only about, my life, and it's a vlog, and it's about, lots of things, but it's also about my faith. And, what I couldn't see is God preparing me for all of this in the background. Before there was a performance improvement plan, I was being prepared to lose my job. And low-key, I knew that this wasn't for me. Somehow I was trying to make it work, and I thought that I had more time. But this has definitely been a learning experience on what I can do to better advocate for myself, cover myself, and what I should have been doing behind the scenes to put myself in a better place. What I truly believe is that I was never meant to be in this job once COVID was over. God was pushing me then. Start a YouTube channel. You're home all day with your kids. You have lots of great content to share. You guys are pretty fun and cool. I didn't listen then. During COVID, I was barely doing anything on my job besides education for 3-4 hours a day. Nobody was giving me cases. That was my time to prepare for the storm, to store up for the winter, as they say. My next video was gonna really go into detail about how God was actually preparing me to lose my job. I just didn't know it. I had no idea. But in that preparation, I'm strengthened now. My faith is stronger than it's ever been. And this is a lesson. Not only did I learn lessons on the job, but I learned lessons about, and I'm still learning lessons about trusting God. When I can't see the future, when I don't have my hands in the mix, because I'm used to having control. As a single mom, as a person I'm used to intervening. I'm used to manipulating the situation. I'm used to hustling and all of those things working. But what happens when those things don't work? And you really have to rely on God. And that's the season that I'm in right now. And yeah, I'm kind of thankful. I mean, life is not easy right now by any means, but I'm happy and I have peace. I don't wake up every day dreading to do something that I don't want to do, and that honestly I was never meant to do for very long. And so I have to go through this storm because I did not prepare when I was supposed to, but I definitely believe that God is a God of second chances, and I'm just being obedient. We'll get into that more in another video. So if this helped you at all, if you can see any insights, I haven't even given tips yet, but if you can see any insights or things that you can do differently, things that can help you on your job, pitfalls that you can potentially avoid. Are you in a situation where you're not getting training or not getting the support that you need and you've had a hard time advocating for yourself? Maybe this has helped you see things from a different perspective. Give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, like. It's not just going to be about me getting fired. That was just a catalyst for what's going to happen in the future. So thanks for joining, and I'll see you next time. Take care. God bless.